Thank you so much for coming in these phenomenal numbers. That's really wonderful. We have a section here where I will open up your microphones and where we can discuss things. But there are some things that I just need to get out. Okay, so some of you I know by name. You are in the Sacred Self-Healing community. We do this almost every week. Or you know me through personal sessions. So I hope you guys had a really good transition into 2019, and I'm glad you arrived here. So make yourself feel comfortable, have some water or coffee or whatever. This is going to take a while. This is a complex year. I do want you guys to comment though, so please use the chat function to comment while I'm speaking, and I'll respond to it. And then towards the end, it will probably take an hour and a half, you know, like the whole entire webinar here, that I would love to discuss things with you in person if you guys want to share through the microphone. All right, why am I doing all this? Why you see me so active right now? I mean, I'm on Instagram and on Facebook 3 times a day, because this is going to be a tricky year, guys. And before I start giving you an in-depth view of what to expect and how to deal with this as an empath, as an energetically sensitive person, I want to make a big shout out to all of you guys, okay? The reason why you're here and the reason why this interests you is different for everybody. But understand that underneath all of this is our ego's need to wanting to know the future, to feeling in control of it somehow, and to anticipate. But many of you also go into this projected fear with it. And I don't want you guys to take this info as like, oh my God, you know, the world. No. You need to understand, as an energetically sensitive, the reason why you have this sensitivity and the reason why you are waking up to these senses is because there are skills, there are talents, there are superpowers underneath that enable you to deal with this better. And for many of you also to be of service for others. And even if it is just the fact that you are not scared, okay, because you know what the bigger picture is. So without the bigger picture, and I talked about this today in the Spiritual 13, you know, the ascension and spiritual awakening and global awakening and what all that means. So I'm not going to go into this here, except for when things come up. But is that we as a whole collective, as humanity itself, is evolving, guys, and those are extremely interesting times, and we all have chosen to be here. So we have, you know, a karmic or a soul contract with ourselves that we want to be here, and I figure that most of you here will have something to do with assisting others through this transition. It's a huge transition from one paradigm into the next. And what are these different paradigms? That's from duality into non-duality, from objectivity into subjectivity, from, you know, the mind and the rationale into the heart mind, from, you know, I think therefore I am, and only what I can see is real, to what I perceive is real. And from what appears as ego reality to see the deeper aspect of that, the energetic reality underneath it, which allows us to discern truth. So for the first time in humanity and human evolution, at least from what we can figure through, you know, whatever has been recorded, humanity is moving into a place where it's beginning to be able to discern truth. This has never been there before, guys. Never has this been before, that we as individuals become able, due to our own inner abilities, to decide whether something is true or not. We have relied on a few avatars, messengers, world leaders, religious leaders, science to tell us what is true. And this is changing now. And I want you guys to understand that this is huge. Okay? This is huge and super, super positive. Yes. And many of us, especially the older empaths and energetically sensitives amongst us, we have been having all these issues with our perceptivity and with the way we see the world and with our emerging ability to see truth. And we have been ridiculed and we have been punished and we have been, going through all the ego traps and spiritual traps that we've encountered here in the last 30, 40 years. I want you guys to know that this is the time that you have been waiting for now. Okay, so the next, till, 2025, the next 7 years, the next 6 years are going to be huge for you. You'll look back and you won't even remember your old life. Okay? So that said, let's move straight into 2019 with any further ado and look at the basic themes. The basic themes or the keywords for 2019 are true self, self-healing, unraveling illusion, resiliency, birthing, and earth. Those are just words, but they help me to sort the info. Overall, from an energetic point of view, the movement here is that we have tons of aspects, which is why this is taking a little longer here, this forecast, because everything is on transformation. And for those of you who know what chakras are and energy centers, the primary energy centers, not just of us individually, but also of our collective and the earth itself, are going to be the first chakra, which is the root of all. It goes really, really deep. The barrier between the third and the fourth, which is part of our collective task, it's moving from ego into a more oneness-oriented understanding. The seventh chakra, which means a spiritual awakening is taking place without our volition. So, our seventh chakra, or the connection to the cosmos and universal energies, is opening up for everybody, no matter what. And most and foremost, the barrier between the fifth and the sixth chakra, which is, the seeing truth and expressing truth. Overall, as energetically sensitives, we need to focus on more grounding and more internalizing, remembering to connect within, remembering to connect with our higher perceptivity. Then, this deep transformational process that we see will, of course, have massive effects on everything, every layer of our reality. First and foremost, financially, politically, the power structures on our planet internationally will change. This is a transformation process that will take in its sort of chaotic nature until the end of 2020. And then comes the rebuilding or the restructuring, in the practical, the integration of that, until 2025. And for some countries, I've mentioned this before, it will take a little longer because there are some things that need to be unraveled first, like the karmic collective shadow of these nations, okay? So the United States is one of those where it will take a little longer, guys, okay? Overall, the way we will perceive this year is like a birthing process. We've here in the self-healing community, we've talked about this since October. This is coming in, to really see this transformation as something really positive, but at the same time, it feels destructive. It feels, just like giving birth. There's wonderful parts of it. It's, unbelievably beautiful, but it's also, painful. It's also ugly. It's also, really life-changing. And so it's the end of this ego illusion, it's like we're being red-pilled. as an entire collective. And what I've sort of filtered out here, working with these energies for now almost 4 or 5 weeks straight, is certain things that we need to remember and that we need to pay specific attention to, and that is what we ingest, what we allow in, what we surround ourselves with. If you want to write these 3 sentences down and put those on your fridge or whatever, you're going to have to focus on discerning these, and you're going to have to form more discipline, because as we all go through this, the collective will be in uproar. And then for you as energetically sensitive, that means that you're going to feel a lot of bombardment, and that it will be difficult for you. It will be difficult for everybody. And for you, maybe to a degree, actually easier because you know what's going on. But that doesn't mean that you are, fully equipped yet to handle all the bombardment. And so as energetically sensitives, we often have the tendency to isolate or to vilify or to separate from the stuff that is going on around us. And we can't do this anymore. We have to be fully present. So the 4th mantra or sentence that you want to write down is, remind yourself to be present. Remind yourself to connect within. And you know how this works. You take a couple seconds time out, focus on your breathing, focus on your heart center, ground your energy, consciously center, consciously clear out the stuff that is bombarding you. This, as an empath, will be the most important skill that you need. And if you don't know yet how to do this, or if you know how to do this but you keep forgetting how to do this, then all you need to do is practice this more. It's really important for us in 2019 to tune into this inner self healer. So most of you here, are already on your path to self-mastery. 2019 will be the year where you will find out how good of a self-mastery, self-healer, self-manager you are. Okay, you're going to have to crank up a bit and be more consequential, more congruent in everything. And I can only emphasize this here, the services that we have at transCODES are geared towards this. So we have the Heart Warrior program, we have the Energy Training Club, we have the Sacred Self-Healing Community. Those are all programs that help you to increase your understanding, to tune inside, to really become one with this inside job that we are now, beginning to realize, and how to regulate and manage your own energies better. So it's going to be a wonderful year for our true selves. It's a true self year. That's how I call it. It will help us to reach higher levels of congruence and integrity within. And we'll better know how to become real, how to make choices that are true to us. Okay, somebody's asking if I could repeat those 4 mantras. Yes. What we ingest, what we allow in, what we surround ourselves. And to remember to connect within. That we are light beings. We are souls with a body, guys. And our body plays a huge role, and we will all see this here this year, because this awakening, this global awakening, will create all kinds of, what is commonly called ascension symptoms in people, and they will have massive physical issues. Who of you use this raise your hand function? Who of you has had massive new physical issues emerging this year in 2018? Surprising, or maybe not so surprising, but really consuming and really hard on you, adding a new layer of things to deal with, maybe doctor's visits, or having to take medication all of a sudden, or really needing to tune into your physical. Yes, a lot of you guys. At least half of you. Yes, and I reckon that for the other half, this has actually been, a year where they could go into more healing with this. So I want you to know that if you are experiencing physical issues, then you are just on the timeline of things, right before improving your physical, okay? But this requires you to really go in and work with your physical. So once more, your physical here in the 3D is the vehicle for your soul. So you have to take good care of it. You have to maintain it. You have to allow it to vibrate at these higher vibratory levels, and it doesn't really count, that you may be able to see all those energies and that you're able to contextualize them. It's all good. And that helps you to calm down your emotions and to maybe stop yourself from excessive thinkingness. But it's not enough for your body. You're going to have to become an active self-healer. So alternative medicine, guys, is going to be it's going to go to the moon. Yes. And those of you who have already been actively working on this, for you, the physical symptoms are going to be less. Just a big transformation that personally I have experienced here this year. So see them as a prelude to less physical symptoms. If you are willing, if you have that focus, and if you have that discipline to really work with your ego, guys, this whining, kicking, and screaming, and oh, my life is so hard and this is not working anymore, will pull you into the karmic collective experience. And it will doom you, and I'm saying this in this slightly sort of threatening manner, to experience misery and suffering. You have to catch every little onset of negativity. And for most of you, this starts with your inner judgment, with your critical inner voice, with the self beat up, with this, I should have, why didn't I, blah, blah, blah. I'm not good enough. Stop that. Instead, focus on, yes, I can. Every little expression, demeanor, word, outburst of negativity, okay, cursing and all that, guys, re-energizes lower vibratory aspects in you, re-energizes your ego. So just be smart about it. Catch yourself. You will catch yourself a million times. Don't beat yourself up for catching yourself, beating yourself up, okay? That is just another layer how the ego fucks with you, okay? You're going to have to stop it. And maybe you can add this as a fifth mantra, yes, I can. Yes, I can. Every time you go into this whiny, this crybaby, this, no, this isn't working. Why is this so hard? Why me? Okay? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You have to become your own inner self coach. Okay? Sorry for this intense tone. I've been working with those 2009 energies for 4 or 5 weeks now, guys. I'm a bit intense about it right now. I'm sorry. Speaking truth here, okay? On a positive note, there's a wonderful, wonderful, and really powerful manifestation energy that's coming in here for this year, and this comes with birth, This is something new. This is something real. This is like new life, new reality. And this starts right here in January. I've been emphasizing this for weeks. You have to have a strategy. You have to go into, knowing what you're doing. You're birthing a new reality for yourself, okay? Anything is possible. What are you waiting for? Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for something to happen. Things are going to happen, and they're not going to be positive for you if you're in a passive state, because then you're going to have to deal with those outer things so much that you forget what you came here for. So you're going to have to go into this active mode of manifesting your life. You have to become a conscious and active manifestor. The biggest issue here with this is just that collectively, politically, financially, economically, there's going to be so much unraveling of illusion, learning that is needed, uncovering even more of, like I've been saying, conspiracy theorists are going to have a field day, because a lot of these supposed conspiracies are actually going to be revealed as true, but just not in the way they contextualize it. They contextualize it in there's this cabal and there's like mean, evil people or aliens or whatever trying to control us. No, guys, let me tell you one thing. There is not, it is not needed, for some evil force to control us. For as long as we are in our egos, as we're caught in that, narcissistic survival that we have, it doesn't take much for us to go luciferic. Okay, this is the truth of our consciousness evolution, is that what we're really doing here is evolving and out vibrating our own inner demons. Okay, so conspiracy theories, some of the stuff that they bring up, with whatever aliens and secret space stations and stuff like that, it's true. Okay, but not the way they put it. Okay, so don't fall for this. Use your own inner discernment. Okay, so as a true self, and as someone who heeds all these tips that I've given you already, this won't be hard for you to see that this is total BS. Okay, you'll look somebody in the eye, or you watch a YouTube video, or you watch a movie, or you watch a newscast or whatever, and you'll see that this total BS. You'll maybe find 1% truth in it, and you can filter this out for yourself. This is what discernment is, guys. The other aspect that comes with this is also that we need to learn how to express truth better and how to communicate it, how to share it with others. And one of my tips for you guys is to learn how to write things down on, like even if it's just keywords for yourself. This will help you to catch your negativity, but this will also help you to remember some things, like sometimes we get so wrapped up in our daily things that we had a cool dream, or we had a cool, we started the day out with a cool input or in a prompting, and then we forgot about it because we just got too busy. So write these things down. Have a list somewhere, or on your computer, on your phone, like a notepad, where you write these things down. Especially for relationships, guys. All this pink elephant, codependency, incongruent false self stuff with your partners, that has to stop. Your relationships will not make it through these times of transformation. So it's, you either step up, or let it be, because there is no resolution in this old pattern, in this old program. You're not going to be happy there. You're not going to find happiness through following your ego. The ego is not designed to make you happy, guys. The ego is designed to make you survive. Okay, it's designed to dominate and consume your nervous system, to put you into fight, flight, or freeze, and you know what that does to you. It does, it gets you into seeing everything as hostile, feeling attacked or attacking others, wanting to check out, wanting to numb yourself, not wanting to face things. And that's ego. That's ego. Okay, those are your demons. So you got to learn how to be active, how to sit in the driver's seat, guys, and not to wait, not make it to depend on other people, on other teachers or guides or whatever. Go for it. Become your own self-healer. And, if you're serious about this, then you will notice this very quickly, that other people will recognize this in you and they will seek guidance from you. Then you're going to have to deal with another temptation, and that is not to feel special, not to feel superior, not to feel elevated through that. This can take you a couple more years. But, if you have this inner prompting, you'll get there. And many of you are thinking about or have started to want to become more financially independent by doing their own businesses or by starting something new. This will be very successful this year if you can stay in the driver's seat, and if you can catch your inner crybaby and your negativity. Okay. On the outer, what we're going to observe, how the collective is going to deal with this. First of all, this year is an earth year. Okay, this means we're going to see a lot of earth changes And no, it's not because of conspiracy theories. Yes, they do weather experimentation. Yes, there are chemtrails. Yes, there are some man-made aspects to climate change, but those are insignificant in the face of divine order, in the face of, seeing the larger context of this planet Earth. Much bigger forces at play. And so, step your thinkingness into who caused what, okay? This paradigm shift from duality into non-duality also means to let go of causality, as your limited brain, puts it. It always takes the info from the past and interpolates the future and makes that real. That's, the problem, with linearity and duality. But if you can pierce through this, then you're going to see that there's a retrocausality in things, so you can't really say what was there first, the chicken or the egg. But for the main part, and this is why we practice things such as connecting with your future self and so forth here, there's a loop that is starting to close. There's a temporal shift in our perception between past, present, and future. And like I said, being present is, this really one of the main tasks this year. You're going to have to understand that you can learn from the past, absolutely, and we have to learn from the past this year, especially politically and economically. It's going to be so important to learn from the past. But then we have to let it go and be in the moment and send our present self enough positive feedback. Here's where the crybaby and the negativity comes in, because if you send yourself negative feedback, you're creating a negative feedback loop to the future and manifesting more negativity, more misery, because of these increased manifestation powers this year. So you're going to have to be very conscientious of where, you send your energies, what you ingest, what you allow in, what you express, what you surround yourself with. Okay. On a political level, this isn't caused by anything, guys, okay? This is just due to its own occurrence, okay? Due to, this collective development, is that we are going to see an entire shift in power structures. What used to be the superpowers of the last 100 years or 50 years, they're going to go down, into a more insignificant place. And countries that used to be seen as maybe second world countries or third world countries even, are going to advance. And why and how are they going to do this? Because they're more open. They don't have so much to lose, right? They're not holding on to the past as much, and therefore they can embrace new technologies, new views, and sort of alternative ways of thinking. And this will be a big one. I can go deeper into this. But one of the things, and this is the only thing really that concerns me personally about 2019, is that we're going to see the emergence of spiritual war. Something that I've been feeling and talking about for a while already is that some of these karmic religious conflicts, such as the Crusades, things, Islam versus Christianity, such as, the times from 2,000 years ago and even times from 4,000 years ago, that have not been resolved yet, and they're coming forward this year, which means we're going to see a lot of weirdo spiritual fanatism, radicalism, and terrorism. Okay, and we're going to actually see spiritual war in some parts of this planet, especially the Middle East, but not where you think, and Southern Europe. Okay. Yes, Gerald is asking how, for me to explain a little more how superpowers will lose their power. Well, this has to do with understanding how they got their power, or what makes them powerful. Okay, so in the past, what made a nation powerful was primarily, obviously, the economic power. And economic power always comes from the number of people. Many forget that. But it also comes from the productivity of the people. So second world countries, for instance, may have more people, but they are not as efficient in their productivity, in what they can produce as economic power as a nation. And due to some of these technological shifts that we're seeing here, just think of China, how China has evolved as a sort of international, like worldwide production place for all big corporations. Okay, so in the past, we've laughed about China and said, "Oh yeah, they're just copying technology, blah blah blah." Well, those times are over with, guys. I mean, China as a nation, has substantial experience now in production, manufacturing, and technological advancement, and they're going to really come up with some very, very cool inventions in the future. So these countries, just a non-brainer, that have, sort of advanced from their third world or second world status, are now advancing into first world status, and rightly so, because they're going to be more open. Now, on a conscious level, this doesn't always mean that they have a higher conscious level. So intellectually and socially, there's of course lots of issues in these countries. They haven't really. China has had, it's an 8,000-year history of civilization, but it went through several cycles with it, and the cycle that it's in right now is not at a very high conscious level yet. But as far as technology is concerned, as far as economic productivity is concerned, some of these countries will just be better, than some of the, European and American nations. I hope this answered the questions. Yes, Marianne, you're picking up on that, the spiritual war. Yeah, this is going to be very evident, guys, and I'm actually expecting January, to show us give us the first preview of that. I'm going to go through the months. If you can bear with me, I can give you a super, super detailed view of the year. I can give you month by month update and when what comes forward. Militarily, I don't really see this as such a big component here. So that in the past, that has been a big component. But as the paradigms shift, I'm not seeing actual war, like the classical war that we've had, at least not on this planet. Okay, I do see interesting movements and developments in space war. Okay, we laughed about the American president last year when he said, we're going to dominate space. And that, of course, is ridiculous to say, but it gives you a heads up on what the big nations are actually worried about. So they're starting to divide space into territories. They're starting, to position themselves in that way, that they literally try to, dominate certain areas of space. At least, sort of as far as our space travel can go. That too will develop, but there'll be a shift there as well. Okay, so don't just look at the past, guys. This is a paradigm shift. This is a transformation. Okay, so you're going to have to think backwards. It's not the old stuff. People who think America is always going to be on top because we have the blah, 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 all that is... that economic power may be the case, but the translation into, the social happiness and productivity is very low right now. So as people become unhappy, guys, and negative, their productivity goes down as a nation. So you can imagine what it does to a country that is advancing, that is coming from a place of poverty, or that's coming from a place of, sort of having been in the sort of in the back, and is now advancing. This creates a tremendous amount of optimism and embracing the future. Whereas, the old superpowers, who basically just see things falling away, and it's not going to look good for the EU, and some of the countries in the EU, and I honestly don't see Britain actually splitting off from the EU entirely. So I think in spring sometime, I think they have a re-election or like a final vote or something on Brexit. They're going to find sort of an intermediary solution. But the whole entire EU, is really wobbly right now, and there is no leadership. So with these shifts in power structure, one of the main problems is that these old countries, that used to be in power, don't really have strong leadership right now. So it's a bit of a vacuum here. And this takes probably another 5 to 10 years to bring in new leaders. So we're going to see this shift, this generational shift in leadership on all levels, in corporations as well as governments. And this is just the next year, 2 years is going to be like kind of empty there. And the dinosaurs are going to, fight their last war, make their last stand. So in some of our countries, we'll feel like zoomed back into Stone Age, because it's so not appropriate to what is actually going on out there. Technologically, this year will be interesting because there's going to be some new inventions, or maybe not new inventions, but them becoming more mainstream. There's going to be also a bit of distraction with it. So right now, the old powers, right? They try to push into brand oil or OBL. This is a new sort of higher efficient fuel, that can also sort of build a bridge to electric cars. I think that's a good development, but you have to understand the oil industry is part of the superpower in the past, and it's slowly dying. Fossil fuels are not the solution. We already know this, and so this will be just a little bit of an eye scratcher. Yes, of course, there's a war about those. Not war, but there's this race, about those oil fields, those brand oil fields. It's just more cobalt and lithium in those in the chemical composition of this or this crystal or this mud, and so anyway. I don't want to distract you too much. Those are things, obviously, that I'm really interested in. But for me, that's just like really a bit of gaslighting, because it has to go, obviously, into solar energy. It has to go into free energy. And the technology is already there, guys. It has been there. It's just been suppressed. So that being a conspiracy theory, yes, but it's for obvious reasons. Okay, so all this is coming forward now in the next years. Also, entirely new ways of food production. Probably following a huge scandal, guys. When I did public lectures on nutrition and sort of metabolic chemistry, that's where I'm from. What was that, 25, 30 years ago? People looked at me like a conspiracy theorist when I talked to them about GMO and MSGs and food colorings and all that. Well, these things are, in my view, old hats, but they're coming into the mainstream awareness, and people are really going to be upset about this, how the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, which for the most part is owned by the same owners, have literally steered people into these degenerative diseases, diabetes and arthritis and all these things. So there is a conspiracy aspect to it, but it's really just outcroppings of capitalism. I'm not just justifying this, but all these things are going to become really apparent to us also in regards to vaccines and stuff. That this has to change, and it will. I've mentioned this before. I see a huge development of urban farming, of living space, where people start growing their own foods in their living rooms. The technology is there. You can buy this for $300, $400. Garden towers, where you can literally grow your own food for many reasons. For people feeling the need to connect with nature more and to bring this into their homes. So architecturally, I think we're going to see some wonderful, wonderful, sort of new fads, to bring nature into architecture, into the house even more, than it has been the trend already. But also for a very practical use, namely for food production. okay, for, you know, clean air production, for clearing energies in your place. So if you have a few $100 left over, and you know, you're wondering how you can increase your life quality as an empath, and look into this, guys. If you live in a more rural area and you have you know, acreage, you have the opportunity to grow your own foods, or to create, you know, a plant and an animal sanctuary around you, then go for it. Go for it. Those places will be those energetic, safe places in the future, guys. No kidding. Finances, cryptocurrencies. Okay, so if you have tuned in here from Crypto Spiritual, yes, you haven't heard much from me in the last 2 months. Why should I? You know, there's fantastic YouTubers out there. So Crypto Daily is one of my favorites to give you an overview of what's going on right now. Not much has been going on. The you know, Bitcoin going mainstream has basically been suppressed this year. Big financial institutions have used this delay to, you know, move billions of investment money into blockchain technologies, and blockchain, guys, is going to come. There's no way around it. Cryptocurrencies are just like really the tokens of that. They're like, you know, how can you say, you know, they're tools for that. And Bitcoin obviously still is the pull horse. So don't laugh about the crypto fans, the crypto enthusiasts. They were right. It's all just coming a little slower than we see it. This is so much the case with many of the visions. You know, I'm talking about things today that I've talked about 20 years ago, okay? For me, that was already real back then. But sometimes you have to put these ideas, these visions into a freezer, you know, and recognize that, you know, for things to go, even to just go into early adoption stage, you know, takes, you know, has the cycles, takes years, you know, takes years. So, however, next year is going to be really interesting, because I'm actually seeing a whole new cryptocurrency coming forward. Many will say, oh, this is the end of Bitcoin. I don't believe this, guys. I mean, you know this, I'm from the software industry in its infancy, you know, early 80s, and I've seen developments there, and there were, of course, a lot of brands and companies that were big at the time, and that have completely disappeared. And so that will happen with some of these ICOs that we've seen. 95% or 97% of them will just disappear. But the technology itself is bringing in a whole new paradigm of accounting, a whole new paradigm of transaction. And this is what most sort of people who are not that technologically adapt, you know, don't understand about it. And you will see countries, perhaps even such as the US, so I'm actually seeing this for the US, within the next 6 months, introducing a new digital currency, whatever they're going to call this. It's going to be a cryptocurrency. They're probably calling it something that, you know, instills a bit more safety, security for people, but all this is linked to the ETFs and to this delay, guys. So is this a conspiracy? No. This is a natural financial tool to hedge some of the volatility, some of the crash here of those old financial tools, stock market, derivatives, and so forth, which are not looking good for next year, especially due to some of the key markers, you know, that determine stocks, such as productivity, such as real estate market, and so forth. So some companies will come that are already big will come out even bigger, and some will go away. And that is always the hard part, you know, in imagining this. You know, it's like, who would have thought that Toys R Us, you know, has to close all stores, or Sears goes bankrupt and stuff like that, even just 2-3 years ago. It's moving fast, guys. Everything is manifesting fast. Okay. And so, you know, don't be too concerned. If you live in a place that you love, if you've already surrounded yourself with the right energy, you have a home that you love, you know, that's fine. If you are in speculative real estate, you know, I'd say look elsewhere. And if you have invested a lot already, You know, and then you still have a little bit of time here. You got 3 months to get rid of this stuff. Okay, interest rates are going to continue to go up. Hyperinflation, all that's going to set in as predicted, and the real estate price is going to go down. Oil's going to go up, and then they're going to, you know, produce this Brent oil thing, and probably announce that they found huge reservoirs in Utah, whatever, Alaska or Antarctica, and that we are saved, and people will think that we'll do it, and the stock market's going to go back up again a little bit, but that's just blown smoke. Overall, you know, environmentalism is going to increase over 2019, and that's a good thing for those Gaia lovers of us. You know, especially in regards to the technology that's going to come in, and that's going to help us to not only reduce emissions and stuff like that, but also to get rid of the contaminations that are there. There's, you know, a lot of potential in nanotechnologies, a lot of potential in, you know, bacteria, you know, become, you know, like a life, you know, sort of compounds to help us with this. The planet has brought a lot of, you know, tools and helpers, you know, to do this. In 3 months, okay, well, you can listen to this in the recording, Janet, but you have 3 months to get rid of your real estate if you have speculative real estate, if you've invested into real estate. And with the stocks, you know, it's like, I'm not a particular fan, but hang on to your Apple stocks, you know, and Amazon, Facebook going to go down. But there's going to be new coming, you know, the oil companies and all the industries that go with it go up and down, car industry, up and down. That's a blown smoke. But for the most part, if you have invested everything into real estate, okay, then I'm not a financial advisor. There's a big disclaimer here, so don't listen to my advice, you know, just ignore all of that. But probably be a good idea to look a little deeper into this. If you have 401ks and retirement funds and so forth, well, be smart, okay? You already have the precognition, you already have the energetic sensitivity to feel into which areas are going to be safer than others. And I gave you many clues here as to the industries that you need to look at that are going to be booming in the future. Again, your global sort of shift of power structure still, and the spiritual war. We're going to see a lot of terrorism this year. Sorry, guys. Europe, Turkey, no, Europe. What do we have there? Paris. Also Germany, Italy. Italy is one of those countries here for 2019 that you're going to have to keep an eye on. If you live in America or Australia, you don't get a lot of news, or at least not a lot of accurate news. Look at the Vatican Bank. Look at some of the smaller banks there. Those banks are like 400 years old. They have enormous significance in power structures worldwide. Look at what's going to happen there. Look at the Italian government. There's going to be a breakdown, and there's going to be the attempt to help them out. And there's going to be some governments, like the US government, for instance, trying to ride in like a white knight in shiny armor for a reason. Italy's also going to be a little bit shaken, you know, by eruptions and earthquakes. So I love Italy. It's part of my goal list for this year to be in Italy at least for 2 weeks. So I'm going to have to really rely on my inner prompting, on my inner perceptivity to be there at the right time and to be at the right place. Okay, so this is how I suggest you guys to deal with all this fear of earthquakes and hurricanes and floods. You'll see a lot of this, guys, in 2019. We'll start in January. The only way to deal with this is really to go into your inner prompting and to remind yourself to be present and remind yourself to connect within. Okay, you're going to feel it when you got to leave. You know, there's some cool testimonials when people get caught in these California fires and how, you know, because it was so surprising and so many people died. But then so many people miraculously got away. And it's cool to hear them say, you know, that they just felt this prompting to do something out of the ordinary, and whoops, you know, they were out. Or they had this like super, super strong awareness of what is the right thing to do right now. So this is why it's so important to become an active self-healer, because you're going to have to train that mediator, that translator in you. Okay. Overall, we're going to see more problems with addiction globally, guys. That's the name of the game, you know. When the ego falls apart, people go into numbing, checking out, attacking. So terrorism is one way to handle your ego, survival, fear, and numbing and checking out is another one. And this is very sad because lots of young people. And if you've already gone past this, if you are a seasoned recovery specialist, a recovered alcoholic, a recovered ex-narcotic addict, guys, tune into your healer abilities and go and be of service. Go out, do conscious awareness, self-healing circles, meditations, discussion groups, offer communities, offer safe places for all these lost souls. There's going to be a lot of lost souls here. If you need to take a break or whatever, if this is too much for you and scaring you, okay, take a deep breath now, get some water, get a coffee. I need a coffee, you know, and let's, you know what, let's just do this together here. Let's just all take a deep breath. Breathe out. Make sure you breathe out really wide, you know, open up your diaphragm and start focusing your breath into your heart. You know, and really breathe through your heart, not through your lungs, not through your nose. And visualize all your energies going into your heart like it's a center and sucking it up like a vacuum cleaner. And then as you exhale, you know, to just clear everything out, to just and see your energies going down into the earth, you know, and connecting with this beautiful planet. And next time you breathe out, you see your energies connecting with the universe, with the divine Wi-Fi. Okay, and you find yourself right in the 0 point of that. That's the present moment awareness. Okay, you will all receive a recording for this, so you can come back to this, and I may have to split up the recording.